All right, so we have four more examples of adding and subtracting rational expressions on this page. So we're going to do kind of the same process. We will try to factor the denominators first, and then that will help us find the LCD. X squared minus 4 is a difference of squares. We can factor that into x minus 2, x plus 2. X squared minus 4x plus 4 is a trinomial that is fairly easily factored into two binomials, right? We can factor that into what, x minus 2 and x minus 2. And so now I'm going to rewrite this vertically again. So we have our 3x over x minus 2, x plus 2, and 4x minus 3 over x minus 2 times x minus 2. Alright, and we are subtracting this, right? Which means we need to make sure we handle that alright. So, LCD. We have a factor of x minus 2 and a factor of x plus 2. But this one has two factors of x minus 2. So we actually need two factors of x minus 2 up here. There are two ways you can handle that. X minus 2, we could write another x minus 2, or I could just write x minus 2 squared, and that takes care of it, right? So let's do the same thing down here. We need an x minus 2 squared and an x plus 2. So what did we multiply this denominator by to get this denominator? Well, we need another factor of x minus 2. Whatever we do to the bottom, we have to also do to the top. So we're going to multiply the top here by x minus 2. Distribute the 3x. We get 3x squared minus 6x. Down here, we need a factor of x plus 2, right? So we're going to multiply by x plus 2 over x plus 2. Again, we could put that in parentheses, so it reminds me I need to FOIL, right? So 4x times 4x is 4x squared. We would have an 8x and a negative 3x together. That gives us 5x for our middle term. And then negative 3 times 2 is negative 6. Right? Now we're going to combine these. So we take all this stuff and we're subtracting all of that stuff, right? Your denominators stay the same. So when we subtract, we have a minus. Gets carried through all these. So 3x squared minus 4x squared is a negative x squared. Negative 6x minus 5x is minus 11x. And then we have nothing minus negative 6 would be plus 6. So we have that expression over our common denominator of x minus 2 quantity squared times x plus 2. And I think we are in business here, right? So that's our answer. Okay. Let's look at the next one. So, we want to get these to look the same really, but remember, if we have an x minus 9 and 9 minus x, they're only different by a factor of negative 1. So what I could do is factor a negative 1 out of both of them. If I factor a negative 1 out of this one, out of one of them, it becomes x minus 9. Okay, and now let's write this vertically. 4x over x minus 9 minus 3x minus 63 over negative 1 times x minus 9. Alright, so let's see. The only thing we're missing up here is a negative 1, so let's multiply both top and bottom by a negative 1. That gives us negative 4x over negative 1 times x minus 9. Down here, we already have what we need, but I'm going to put this in parentheses. Distribute the negative, we get a minus 3x plus 63 over negative 1 times x minus 9, right? And then we just combine those. I already distributed the negative, so I can really just add them together. Negative 4x and negative 3x is a negative 7x. And then we have plus 63, right? And then we have that over negative 1 times x minus 9. Now you may notice that we may not be in completely lowest terms. We could factor a 7 out of this guy here, right? Or a negative 7 even maybe. Let's factor out a negative 7. If we do that, we get an x minus 9, don't we? And then we have a negative 1 times x minus 9. And guess what? The x minus 9s will cancel. Negative 7 divided by negative 1 is just positive 7. And that would be our answer. Okay? So that one became very simple at the end. All right, let's look at the next one. There's nothing we can factor, I don't believe. So I'm just going to rewrite this vertically. Z plus 2 over Z minus 2 plus Z minus 2 over Z plus 2. All right, so the two denominators cannot be factored, so the only LCD is the product of the two. So your LCD will be Z minus 2 times Z plus 2. In order to get that denominator, we need to multiply the top fraction by Z plus 2 over Z plus 2. And we need to multiply the bottom fraction by Z minus 2 over Z minus 2. Alright, so let's see what happens here. If we use the FOIL method, in both cases, Z times Z is Z squared. We have a 2Z and another 2Z, which gives us a 4Z in the middle. And then we have 2 times 2, which is 4, right? Here we have Z times Z, which is Z squared. We have a negative 2Z and another negative 2Z, which is a minus 4Z. And then we have negative 2 times negative 2, which is positive 4. Now we're adding these. We're going to add the numerators. Z squared and Z squared is a 2Z squared. 4Z and negative 4Z, the middle term goes away. And we have 4 and 4, which is 8. On the bottom, we have Z minus 2, Z plus 2. Now, you might look at the numerator and say, hey, we can factor that, and you can, but I don't think it'll help us any. If we factor out a 2, we have a Z squared plus 4, Z minus 2, Z plus 2. It doesn't allow us to cancel anything out, so either one of these answers would be fine. If you like the factored form, this one's good. If you want to leave it like this, you could in this case. I like to always factor just at the end just to make sure there's nothing that can be canceled out. We can't factor a sum of squares, Z squared plus 4, so we can't do anything with that. We have to leave it alone. All right, we have one more on this page to look at. Let's factor the denominators. M squared minus 4 can be factored into M minus 2, M plus 2. It is a difference of squares. This guy can be factored. It's a perfect square trinomial, actually. It can be factored into M plus 2 times M plus 2. Okay. So let's write this vertically. We have M over M minus 2, M plus 2, minus 1 minus M over M plus 2. I'm really going to M plus 2 times M plus 2, right? Alright, so your LCD, we need an M minus 2. We need an M plus 2. But because this one has two M plus 2's, we actually need M plus 2 squared, right? So that's going to be your LCD, M minus 2 times M plus 2 squared. And then we can ask, what do I need to multiply this by, right? So we need another factor of M plus 2 here. M plus 2 over M plus 2. So we distribute the M and we get M squared plus 2M. Here we need to multiply by m minus 2. So m minus 2 over m minus 2. So we're going to FOIL here. M times 1 is m. First times first. Outer times outer is positive negative m times negative 2 would be plus 2m, right? Inner times inner would be negative m squared. Or I did last times last. I did first times first is m. Outer times outer I haven't done, have I? 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Alright, so now we have this minus sign, right? That minus sign needs to be applied to all of this stuff. I used brackets there. You could use parentheses, doesn't matter. So let's see. So we got to combine it. We have an m squared minus a negative m squared, so that's plus m squared, right? So we have 2m squared. We have a 2m minus m minus 2m. So the 2m minus 2m, those would go away actually, but we still have a minus m. And as far as the numbers go, we just have a negative 2, but that's minus a negative 2, so we have plus 2. And then we have our denominator, m minus 2 times m plus 2 quantity squared. And that would be a fine answer. So that's it for this section, and we'll see you on the next video.